I think it's great, Kevin.
We are live. Welcome. We appreciate you joining the Rudee Maniacs team. Go Green. We are here with Alexis and Christina, and we have a special guest, Suzanne. So, Suzanne, why don't you introduce yourself to the folks and tell them a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I am the owner of the Nature Bus. So we take people on eco tours to all the local area state parks, city parks, national wildlife refuges, and the nature preserves, which are different from refuges. And yeah, we take people on group tours.
Awesome.
And Suzanne is our wonderful sponsor this week. So make sure if you are watching right now while we are live that you either like this broadcast, or be sure to make comments. We want to hear your experiences, ask questions. You have three pretty awesome, if I do say so myself, awesome experts. And we're happy to try to answer your questions. Oh, and I think we wanted to also mention we are going to be talking today about some of our favorite nature stops. And given the current situation, a lot of them are under revised hours, or they've closed parts of their parks, or they may have closed altogether. So if you do just are absolutely inspired by our talk today, hi Amy, then please make sure you go on their websites and check and make sure that before you hit the road that they are actually going to be open for your pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. And as you folks are joining in with us today, give us a shout. Let us know that you're here. We're broadcasting this on a couple of different platforms, so we can't all see kind of what's happening. So let us know who you are, where you're watching from, so that we know kind of how far we're reaching.
Woohoo.
All right.
Shall we get started?
Yeah,
I tried to go south to north, but the way our coastline is, we're going to start from the south, and then we're going to kind of fork off to the peninsula, and then we're going to come back to the bottom of the Chesapeake Bay and fork off to the eastern shore. So if that makes sense. Pretend you're looking at a map right now. So we are going to start with False Cape State Park. And a huge shout out to all the people that donated. Hi, Hillary. All the people that donated photographs for this wonderful presentation, as well as we had so many photographs that we're going to be doing a slideshow that you can watch afterwards of just all the images and the places that people submitted images from. So who wants to talk about False Cape State Park? Want me to?
Sure.
Okay. So first of all, I have my notes here. There are actually 38 state parks in Virginia, which I thought was interesting, which include campsites, cabins, and more than 500 miles of trails. So there's plenty of hiking trails available just in our state park system. We have one of the most amazing state park systems in the country, I think. False Cape State Park starts right at the North Carolina line and works its way up to Back Bay National Wildlife Refuge. It's got about 6 miles of beach. The entire park is almost 3,900 acres, and there are paths and trails in the backside on the bay side that you can also take certain times of the year to get down to the park. The park is not, you can't access the park with a vehicle. The only way to get down there is to hike it, bike it, or take one of their tram rides, or if you're really lucky, get on the Tarrigator. It's like this giant monster bus that will take you from Little Island Fishing Pier down to the park. It's a fun ride. There are primitive campsites in the back part of the park as well as on the beach. If you do go in the warmer months, I highly recommend large amounts of bug spray. For experience the bugs of False Cape, you will know exactly what I am talking about. They are mutants. Let's see. There's actually a lot of really interesting history regarding False Cape State Park. when we were there many years ago and got a guided tour, they talked about how there was a shipwreck and it brought people on into that piece of property. There was actually evidence of like moonshine making, and there's an old church people. I know, yeah, you can find a lot of old glass, or used to be able to. I'm not sure about now. So there's actually a pretty interesting history behind Falls Cape State Park, and it's just beautiful. Do you guys want to add anything in to my monologue there?
I had a thought regarding a bug spray. So with the Nature Bus, we hand out to everybody these insect suits, and they make that time of year where there are so many mosquitoes and so on. People don't mind them. Then you don't need any insect repellent at all. You pull this jacket on, but we even have the pants. So we bought the large size. So even if it's a child, we'll just roll up the sleeves and roll up the pants. But those are a good investment, and you can go out canoeing and kayaking, and you have all the insects around you, but they won't bite you. So.
They are intimidating, though.
We have a question from Hillary. How long of a hike is it to get to the park? Do you guys know?
So you would have to park at Little Island Park, which is in the bottom of Sandbridge. And my guess, rough estimate, would be about 8 miles before you get into Falls Cape, because I believe Back Bay is also about 6 miles of beach, and the road to get from Little Island to the beach at Back Bay, you can't cut through that north mile of Back Bay. You actually have to go take the road down. So yeah, I'm thinking it's about 8 miles before you get into Falls Cape.
Yeah.
Good deal.
All right. Should we move on to our next?
Sure.
So moving north, Back Bay National Wildlife Refuge. I'm telling you, hi Mo. Oh, hi Mo. So hi Robbie, thank you for your photos. Back Bay National Wildlife Refuge. So I was actually surprised to learn that there are 14 national wildlife refuges in Virginia. I did not know that, and this is the first one that we are going to talk about. So Back Bay was established in 1938. It is currently more than 9,000 acres. It is critical habitat for wildlife. A huge, especially in the winter, kind of a flyby, fly through, fly away.
Fly away, yeah.
There's a bird person here.
I like
Let's see. And Back Bay and Falls Cape is also an area where loggerhead sea turtles like to come up and nest.
Yeah.
Favorite part. And you can actually volunteer with Back Bay to do turtle nest sitting. I think the Virginia Aquarium is doing that now. But yeah, you can go down there at night and wait for the turtles to hatch, or not hatch. Might just be staring at ghost crabs and big giant bugs.
Yeah, getting carried away by mosquitoes. Definitely. Right. But that's a lot of fun. They have a lot of volunteer opportunities at a lot of these refuges, so folks can check into that with the websites. We can post a list of those in the comments a little bit later so that you can view that too. Suzanne, do you have a favorite moment or sighting at Back Bay that you have had?
We went recently to Back Bay. It was spectacular. So a lot of people don't like snakes, but they ought to learn about how the snakes are just such a wonderful part of the ecosystem. And the place is filled with many, many snakes, but you don't need to worry. You'll see right on the side of the path, you'll see a copperhead snake, but it's minding its own business. So it's fascinating. We took video of a copperhead swimming in the water. Cool. And it had turtles and birds, and it is one of the most wonderful favorite places to go. And there are guides there. Sometimes you have the rangers, and there was an intern or ranger walking around, and he just offered to guide us around while we were there. So it's an amazing place to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the bird watching is top notch, especially if you can get back into the dikes, which I know are closed in the winter months. But as you can see from some of these photographs, we have tundra swans and egrets and osprey and ibis, all kinds of beautiful ducks. And I used to go on bird surveys back in many years ago with one of the biologists, and it was just fascinating. That's the only reason I know anything about birds was because of going on those surveys with at Back Bay.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to the tram, which is obviously not running now during COVID-19, but for we have a friend, Bob Baxter, who's a historian, and he's on the tram and will tell you the nature and the history of Back Bay while you ride the tram. So that's a great experience there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other fun factoids? I know the dunes down at Falls Cape were actually man-made during the Depression. It was one of those jobs that were given to help stimulate the economy. They built the dunes to protect the Back Bay from the saltwater. So that's kind of interesting. All right, moving right along. Oop. Okay.
That's my all-time favorite. We go there with the nature bus. We take groups of people there all the time, and it's still my favorite. And we've been there so many times down the Cape Henry Trail and the Bald Cypress Trail, and I can't get enough of it. So we bought a commercial pass so that we can bring people in. You know that you have to pay for parking. Every time you go through, it's $7, and on the weekend it's $10. So with the bus, we just drive on in because I've already paid the yearly fee. But our naturalist that pretty much our go-to naturalist is Mr. Stuart McCausland, who's an entomologist, a bug expert. And he points out everything along our way to make the tour just so interesting. But it's definitely my favorite place. It's almost magical with the Spanish moss hanging there. You feel like you're in some kind of a fairy tale story. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's such a diverse park because, like you said, in some parts of it, you're on these back trails with the Spanish moss, and then you're in this kind of lake, Broad Bay area, or you can be on the Chesapeake Bay beach side. And there's so much to this park. There's campgrounds, wonderful place for kayaking and paddleboarding, or just hiking and exploring and riding bikes. And it's just a wonderful park. And we're so lucky to have it here in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the go-tos when folks are coming and asking where they should go, where they can spot a lot of nature with a lot of diversity, and that's definitely one of the top recommendations that we give.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay. I love Justin's little tree frog picture there. I had to put it in there somewhere. It's so cute.
Yes, it's photo ops for sure.
Christina, I wanted to show this here. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of, do you see what it is?
It's a guide of some kind?
It's like a scavenger hunt. So in this time of COVID-19, when we have no bus tours. We just leave the bus there at REI, and it's asleep, it's resting. We can't use it anymore. But we've made virtual tours. And so 2 of our tours are up there already on our website under the tab blog. But the reason I'm bringing it up now is we just finished the one for First Landing State Park, the Cape Henry Trail. Next week, we're going to do the other trail, the, what is the other one called? I just said it. Anyway, the other one. So called Cypress Trail. I forgot it for a minute. But this one's the Cape Henry Trail. So we have a scavenger hunt. And it says, while you're watching the virtual tour, and it's set to music, look for these things on the scavenger hunt.
That sounds like fun.
Of course, you can always still go to the park. All these parks are still open. If you keep the governor's guidelines in mind, you can still go to the park. So when you see it on the video, you might say, oh, I need to get in my car and go there. But if you want to be in the safety of your house, you can enjoy the tour virtually and then play the scavenger hunt. But we just finished the one for First Landing State Park.
Very awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And Doo-Doo Brown, my dog, wanted me to remind everyone that some parks allow dogs and some parks do not. False Cape does allow dogs, but you would have to access the park through either North Carolina or come in by boat, because Back Bay does not allow dogs. And then First Landing, of course, allows dogs, and all these places that allow dogs. And I'll try to remember to chime in on that one for each place. Make sure they're on a leash.
Yes.
Because dogs like mine will go after your dog, even though he's blind. And still try to. Okay. Moving right along. He's upstairs hiding from me right now because he knows I'll embarrass him. Okay.
Oh, yay. Cool.
Aw.
I know. That was awesome.
I know. I've never been to Slumpy Lake, so I'm going to let you guys do this one.
I haven't had the good fortune of being there either, but I've seen some stellar pictures that a lot of folks have posted. Suzanne, do you have anything to share about Slumpy Lake?
Yeah, it's a really favorite place to go canoeing or kayaking, for sure. They have a place that's easy to park your car and then take about 20 steps over to the place where you can launch your canoe or kayak. And there is a company, I believe, I don't know the name of it, that actually sets up right there a trailer, and you can walk over and rent a kayak if you don't have your own. So right now the water is too cold, I think, to go kayaking. Some people go, but if you end up in the water, then it's very cold. So maybe it's a better activity to wait till May. And but it's just spectacular because you see how those bald cypress trees and the birds, you can get right close to it if you go in a boat, if you go in a canoe or a kayak. But it's amazing place, yeah.
Yeah, so in my research, it is 1,422 acres. It has 1.65 miles of trails. Dogs are good. And as Suzanne just said, it has a canoe or kayak launch and paddleboarding also, I believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you can't wait for the warmer weather, wear a wetsuit. Just keep in mind that you don't want to end up with hypothermia because you don't want to have to go to the hospital right now. So be very aware of these decisions you make as far as water sports.
Another thing that I found when I was researching them is that the kayak and canoe launches, they're ADA compliant as well as a fishing deck. So they've tried really hard to make it accessible for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. What is next? Oh, I thought this one was cool. Yes, there is a golf course at Slumpy Lake. So if you're into golf, I can't comment. I have no idea. I'm not into golf. But I did read that there was a golf course there. And I'm assuming it's still open at this time. Does anyone know?
I don't know.
Yeah, check the internet, the interwebs. So the Elizabeth River Trail in Norfolk, I thought this was kind of cool. It's 10.5 miles, and pets are allowed. Walking, biking, and skating are allowed. Their website, elizabethrivertrail.org, does have a map of places where you can park to access the trail. And this is kind of an urban trail. It follows, for the most part, you can see the map there along the Elizabeth River. You're probably going to go across Waterside and Nauticus and get a nice little view of the Norfolk waterfront. Have any of you? I mean, I've been on some of the more popular parts of it along, Waterside and that area. I think it would go down towards the field where the Tides play, and I think it goes far back as Ghent.
No experience up here.
Cool. They're still working on it.
I'm adding that to my to-do list for this.
Yes, yeah. 10.5 miles. That's a nice little hike on a nice day. Yep. All right, next. So, again, I have not been to either of these, but these are in Portsmouth. I wanted to try to include as many cities as possible because, Hampton Roads is a huge area. There are so many parks. It was actually really hard to put this list together because there were so many places I wanted to talk about. And that's why there's 2 of them on this one slide. And so there's 2 parks in Portsmouth, Paradise Creek and Hoffler Creek. One, I think, is more of a kind of an urban type park. I believe that one, the Paradise Creek, has the playground and walking trails. Dogs are allowed on that in that park. Hoffler Creek is more of a wildlife preserve. Dogs are not allowed in Hoffler Creek. Let's see. They have a lot of educational programming. You can go kayaking. There are docks and overlooks and trails. Have either of you been to either of those?
I haven't. How about you, Suzanne?
Yeah, I've spent so much time at Hoffler Creek. Love the place. I've been to Paradise Creek one time, and when I went there, I thought, why haven't I come here more often? It is so beautiful, and you can, there they rent kayaks and so on. So I don't know too much about Paradise Creek, except that it's an awesome place to go, and as I said, I went once. Let me tell you about Hoffler Creek. So, goodness, we go there all the time. They have kayaks you can rent, really great price. They have many nature trails. So really important to know, you know how we talked about Back Bay is a wildlife refuge and that there were 14 of them in the state. But a natural area preserve, the state of Virginia has, 63 natural area preserves that covers 57,000 acres total of land. So this is one of them, is an area preserve, and it's established for the explicit reason is to protect the flora and fauna and the habitat there. So a lot of people will go there and say, why can't I take my dog? Why can't I go do this or that in the place? But it is not, the national parks were built very specifically for recreation of humans and large volumes of humans. But this was established to protect the species that are there. And we as humans are welcome to come and visit and delight in everything they have to offer. But the priority is the animals and the plants there and protecting them. It's different than a refuge. The refuge is run by U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the preserves are run by, let's see, what I had written it down here, Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. Oh no, DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation. Sorry, I had to check my notes there. So yeah, so they're different entities in the government, But anyway. Beautiful place, and you can canoe there and hike and see all the different species try to ID all the trees. When I go there, I try to figure out which tree. Every tree I think, what is this? And look it all up in the book and try to learn. Yeah. So, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
Yeah. You'll love it.
All right. Let's see. Oh, and this is another one on my list. I'm going to let you guys talk about Great Dismal Swamp because I have not yet. Actually, that's not true. I went when I was in the Virginia Master Naturalist training. We did a field trip to the Great Dismal Swamp. So I've been once, long time ago.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been to the Great Dismal Swamp a couple of different times. I love the diversity that they have there. There are a lot of really cool things to do. Most of you know that are watching that I'm a really big animal lover. Obviously, I kind of spaz out at stuff. And so anything that you can easily spot a lot of really cool animals, that's kind of my favorite thing to do. So definitely bears. That's a really good site there. I'm hearing a couple things from other folks too. Suzanne, what do you like about the Great Dismal Swamp?
So right before COVID-19, our last tour we did was a full bus, every seat filled, for the Great Dismal Swamp. And it was so popular, it sold out. It was an awesome trip. And once we got there, we had a guide. Almost every one of our trips, we have a naturalist who meets us at the head of the trail and takes us on a hike. So at this particular one, there's a lady, her name is Penny. And I found out about her by calling the Suffolk CVB, the visitor center anyway, in Suffolk. And they said, oh, they have this amazing guide who knows everything about the nature and history of the Great Dismal Swamp. Her name is Penny, and she's been doing it for 20 years. So I called her and said, I've never met you before, but I'm bringing a whole bus load of people, 18 people. It's a small bus, 18 people. And would she give us a tour? Would she be our guide? Oh my goodness, she knew everything there was to know. And you can see from the pictures, those are my pictures, not the bear. However, we didn't see a bear there, but we saw all kinds of signs of bears, like the claw prints in the trees, and we had all kinds of proof there were bears there. But you can see from the pictures, look at the clouds, and oh, this is beautiful. And you come to the end is called Drummond Lake, and that lake with the bald cypress trees, that is Drummond Lake. So this place was heavenly, and she pointed out all the different trees and insects and all the wildlife there. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. So yeah. It's huge. The place, I don't know. I don't have it on the top, you know, the information, but when you see a aerial view, it's massive. The land, there's just so much of it. Does anyone know? Do you have any stats on that?
Yeah. 112,000 acres.
What is it? 112,000.
112,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing you'll
entrances.
Go ahead, Christina.
There's 6 entrances into the park in Virginia, in Suffolk and in Chesapeake. And Alexis, you said there's entrances also in through North Carolina?
That was Alligator River that I was mentioning with that, but that's another good place too. Not in Virginia, but really cool sightings.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, something really interesting at the Dismal Swamp. While we were driving on the bus, she would say, look out of the window, and you would see miles and miles of burned. Everything was burned. Do you remember? I think the year, I can't remember, it was 2006, and then there was another one, but they had fires. Sometimes they do purposeful, prescribed fires for the benefit of, they need to do that to help certain trees, like, they need, the long leaf pine needs prescribed fires, but these particular fires got out of control or something. It had some machine that caught fire. But anyway, they showed us the burns. It was incredible, miles and miles of burn forest. But that's not all you see there. People were making a joke that the Dismal Swamp wasn't dismal at all.
Definitely not.
So, yeah. That's all I have to say about it. Yeah.
Okay. Dogs are allowed. I don't know if in the entire park, but I've met in maybe just some parts of it. The website said there are places for dogs.
We passed many.
It's a big park.
Yeah, I've seen.
We saw dogs there. Yeah.
Okay. Mine would have to be in his backpack. There's too much going on there.
Some of our nature bus tours say dogs allowed, and they come on the bus. Some we don't, and some we do. Specifically, people with allergies need to know ahead of time if there are going to be dogs on the bus or not. But a lot of them are dog friendly. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just a reminder, everyone. Make sure if you are listening and you make sure you at least like the chat or comment or ask questions, because the Nature Bus has donated 2 free rides on one of their wonderful tours.
Here's our gift. Oh, I can make it.
All right. So Grandview Nature Preserve. I think Grandview Nature Preserve is kind of a hidden treasure in Hampton. I only knew about it. So a few weeks ago, we talked about some of my marine debris work, and one of the projects I did, we surveyed at 4 different sites. Grandview was one of them, and then Back Bay, Fisherman Island, and Chincoteague. But Grandview is just a beautiful, very quiet beach. It's on the Chesapeake Bay, and there's free parking on State Park Avenue. And thanks, Robbie.
Yeah, thanks.
There's free parking on State Park Avenue, and then you walk down a path that's probably about a half a mile long, and it takes you onto this beautiful beach that you see here. Lots of shells if you get there at the right time. There's also one of those orange coral thingies that are native to this area. They watch up, or there's this purple weird plant. I don't see it anywhere else except at this park. And sometimes there's events, like weather events, and this stuff washes up, and it's just a different type of beach than any other that I've seen in this area. And if you walk all the way down to the end of it, let's see, I think it's called the Back River, which is a river that goes out into Chesapeake Bay. And I don't know, it's a fun beach. Dogs are allowed in the off season, but not from April 15th to September 15th. And again, they have to be on a leash. Have you guys been there?
I haven't been.
Oh, well, you're missing out. I've even found sea glass there. Remember when we were little kids and sea glass was abundant, plastic was not?
Yeah.
Now, plastic. Anyway, but there's sea glass. You can find it every once in a while.
I can't wait to go there. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It's a fun beach. I didn't make a note of how long it is. We did see lots of ospreys and shorebirds. Oh, and there's a big pile of rocks out in the water that used to be a lighthouse. So there's some interesting history there. It was knocked down during a big storm. I don't remember when. And there's some, along the path to get to the nature preserve, there are educational signs so you can learn about the history of the preserve and the area. So, all right. That's all I got for you. All right, York River State Park. I've been camping there. It was very peaceful camping down by the river.
I bet it was. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Suzanne, do you have anything to share about York River State Park?
Yeah, we took people there for fossiling. You can go on the beach and look for shark teeth. They're actually still there. You dig and you go with strainers, like your kitchen strainers, up to your knees in water. And it's like panning for gold, but you're panning for shark teeth. So beautiful trail. It's a lot of downhill to get there from where the parking lot is down to the beach, and then climbing back up. So yeah, you need to be in good shape to go to that. It's not flat. It's not like First Landing where you can kind of walk flat. You have to do some climbing down and up to get there. But it's beautiful there. So I've only gone there twice.
So my research is telling me that the York River State Park is a little over 2,500 acres. It is designated as the Chesapeake Bay National Estuarine. You know what I'm saying? I know all you know what I'm saying. Estuarian research. I can't see, my eyes are watering.
Oh dear.
Research reserve.
Yes. And them's actually
hiking and equestrian trails. I can say equestrian, but I can't say the other one.
There you go. And them's actually cooperates with that research reserve, and they have a pretty cool Facebook page. They've been doing a lot of live feeds the last couple of weeks of different projects, experiments, and things within that area. So I definitely encourage folks to check that out too. They've definitely upped up their content, and it's actually really, really neat.
Mm-hmm. Fossils, Kathy. Okay, let's see. Kipta Peak. I love Kipta Peak.
Me too.
It's another hidden gem.
It really is.
So this one requires that massive 17-mile bridge, Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, which the tolls are a little prohibitive. But if you're going to make a day or a weekend out of it, I highly recommend that you stop at Kipta Peak. We went over last year for some paddleboarding. And so if you look at that top picture, so first of all, Kipta Peak, it's another state park. It's campgrounds. There's hiking trails. Dogs are allowed. There's a fishing pier. There's public swim beaches. It's on the Chesapeake Bay. But if you look in the distance on that top picture, those are actually concrete ships. Raise your hand if you've been up close and personal with the concrete ships of Kipta Peak.
Yeah, they're
cool. So cool. It is so cool. Concrete does float if it's shaped like a boat. That's what the website said. Who knew?
I like that rhymes.
There are 9 ships. They were used during World War II as let's see. They were in the Pacific, South Pacific during World War II as transport and training vessels. They were brought over to Kiptopeke to serve as a breakwater. Before the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel was built, there was a ferry that ran from, I believe, Little Creek to Cape Charles. And Kiptopeke, those ships were, so that the ferries didn't cause a big wake in that area. And once the bridge was built, the ferry was no longer useful. But the ships remain, and they've become habitat for lots of birds, and who knows what else is living in there. It's very eerie, but very cool to paddle around and check out. Kiptopeke's just a beautiful park. Has a boat ramp, and that's what I've got.
Yeah, another really cool thing about Kiptopeke is that is the home of the Coastal Virginia Wildlife Observatory. So they collect a lot of data there on birds, butterflies. I was actually there this last summer when they were doing hawk watch. So they were tallying all of the birds that were coming through. And it says that at that particular site, so at Kiptopeke, they have documented more rare birds there than anywhere else in Virginia. So that was something that I thought was pretty cool. Yes, hawk watch. Thank you, Kathy.
All kinds of great birds on the ships. Yep. Yeah. And it's a fun place to camp, I have to say.
Yeah. When we go to Kiptopeke, we go through the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. It's a good way to carpool. When you put 18 people on a bus, and they don't have to pay. They don't have to pay to go through there and back because it's covered by the bus fee. So then we go over to Kiptopeke. There is something for everybody. There's so much to do that what we tend to do, instead of staying as a group like we do when we go to First Landing or Back Bay, we stay as a group with a tour guide. Here we break it all up into options. We say you can rent a bicycle and go bike. You can go hike on the path. You can rent a canoe. You could go crabbing. You could go you could go swim in the water, spectacular. But one thing to make sure you do, if you ever go there, check when sun is going down, sunset, because we don't get those kind of sunsets on our side of the pond. On that side, every night is a breathtaking sunset. So in your itinerary of the day, don't accidentally go home at 4 p.m. Go later in the day and stay to see the sunset. It's spectacular.
And we have a beach there that's labeled Sunset Beach, known for good sign.
You're guaranteed something beautiful. And then coming back over the bridge during sunset is spectacular too, coming back. But Alexis was saying about the hawk watch and so on. They actually have a huge structure that they allow people to go climb up on, and you can be part of it, sort of the hawk watch, open to the public. It's really cool. But I know that it's not one of yours listed, Christina, but I have to give a shout out to some other place you need to go, a nature place on the Eastern Shore.
Cape Charles.
Yeah, well, Cape Charles, you have to stop in to go to Cape Charles Brewing Company, and you have to go get there. Black Dog ice cream or something, I don't remember, but they say it's
yes,
it's great. Yep. Couldn't be as famous as Dumar's ice cream, but anyway, but listen to this. You have to know about this secret place that most people don't know about, but you should go look it up on your computer. It's called Savage Neck Dunes. Okay, and why they named it Savage, I think it's a family that used to live on the Eastern Shore back way in history with the last name Savage. But anyway, it's called Savage Neck Dunes. We always hire a guide named Dot Field from DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation, because she is a scientist who studies the endangered tiger beetle. And this is where the endangered tiger beetle is found. And it's as endangered as the sea turtle. So it's on the federal list of endangered species. And she will take you through the whole place. And they do allow dogs as long as they're on a leash, but she'll take you through, and they're the highest dunes in the state. So imagine giant sand dunes, huge sand dunes. And then you end up at a beach that is a private beach that nobody knows about. I should really keep my mouth shut because I love going there because nobody's there. It's so beautiful. And you can walk along the beach. But she said we could get involved in counting the tiger beetles on her research day. So I can't wait till that day happens. Yeah. So that's anyway something to definitely go check out when you're on the Eastern Shore.
And that one has that wooden walkway, right? Or part of it is a walk. There's a wooden walkway. There's another one in Cape Charles that's really just random. This wooden walkway, but yeah, Savage Neck is gorgeous. The walk to the beach is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. And she talks about the walkway. It's just a short bit of a walkway. It's not a really lot, but it's very important. She tells the whole history that they brought in a bunch of girls, like young girls. Maybe they were, I don't know if they were late high school or early college, who built that in a couple weeks. Some federal program. It's incredible. That walkway has a whole history of its own that Dot Field will tell you all about.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a
fun nature bus trip.
Yeah.
Robbie, to answer your question, Kip's Peak is before Cape Charles when you're coming across the bridge. So I think it's probably 2 or 3 miles from the toll booth. On the left, you'll see the sign for it. You'll see some of their cabins. I think they're white with bright red roofs. You can't miss them on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I think this is it. This is our last stop. And one of my favorites.
And on July 29, those ponies are going to swim. I've been there. Have you ever been to the pony swim?
I have it on my list.
Yeah. So we set up a whole tour. The whole thing is all designed to go, but I don't know with COVID-19 if the bus tour is going, but it's on Wednesday, July 29. Those ponies will swim, but you have to go the day before. You have to go Tuesday and sleep overnight. And at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, just like if you were in New York City for the Macy's Day Parade and you want to get your spot up front, you have to wake up at 4:30 and go set up your chair on the beach, close up. So otherwise, you're going to be in the back and not see the ponies swim. So, yeah. But it's beautiful there.
So this, again, this was another one of my sites for our marine debris survey, and our site was actually about 7 miles up towards Maryland. So we had a special permit from Fish and Wildlife Service to take that service road to go to our site where our marine debris survey site was. And I think there was, in 4 years, there was maybe only 1 or 2 times we didn't see the ponies. And it was fun to see them every year with their babies and, the birds that would like sit on them and eat the bugs off of them. And they're just minding their own business. They'd see us coming. I swear sometimes they would purposefully stand in the middle of the road and stare at us, because there's nothing we could do until they moved. But there's much more to Chincoteague than the ponies. Let's see, Chincoteague. Actually, so Chincoteague National Wildlife Refuge is on Assateague Island, which actually extends into Maryland. So there's the Chincoteague National Wildlife Refuge, and then there's also the Assateague Island National Seashore, which is part of the National Park Service. It's really confusing. So the Park Service, if you go into Chincoteague, there's a beautiful visitor center, and there's all kinds of hiking trails, and I think you can bike there too. There's some parts of the refuge where you cannot take your bike, you can only walk. There's some parts of the refuge you can actually drive. And I think sometimes they actually allow people to drive those service roads, on special occasions to get a better view of the entire refuge. And there's actually a off-road area on the southern part of the beach where fishermen can drive their vehicles onto the beach to go fishing. I think that's down by the Tom's Cove part of the Hook on the southern end. There's public beaches. Yes, the Delmarva fox squirrels. Kathy and I fell in love with them. I don't know if they're on the endangered species list, but they're definitely, kind of one of those protected species on the refuge. There's a Sika elk, which is, I think, actually a type of deer. It looks a lot like a deer, but they call it elk. So, hey, we saw an elk in Virginia. Lots of snakes, more than 300 species of bird, or more than 200 species of bird. If you go into the visitor center, you can actually log in the species that you found. Alexis, you'd love that because you like data. And yeah, the beach, you can walk up to Maryland if you want to. I think it's about 7 or 8 miles of beach. The loggerhead sea turtles have also been known to nest in Chincoteague. Their ocean turtles will nest on ocean-facing beaches, so that's one of the areas they tend to go to lay their eggs. And I think that's all I've got. Oh, the ponies. So there's a really interesting history behind the ponies. They're actually owned by the Chincoteague Fire Department. And they take care of the ponies. They've got a permit from Fish and Wildlife Service to keep 150 ponies on the refuge. So the fire department, they call themselves Saltwater Cowboys. They own and take care of the ponies, and they are the ones that do the pony swim. And their fundraiser to help fund the fire department is the auctioning off of the ponies and the foals of that year's foaling event, the new foals. I don't know that. Kathy, I don't know if the Boy Scouts introduced the elk. That's interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to check into that.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's kind of the long and the short of the pony history. So we would see the Saltwater Cowboys back there, and they would actually be riding horses sometimes too, to go back and check on their ponies on the refuge.
And to tie it in, because we haven't talked very much about children going on tours of all these places, but that book, Misty of Chincoteague, and there's a series of them, and I think that's the first one in the series of the book. There are a few of them about the wild ponies of Chincoteague. But it's good to have them read the book and then say, oh, when you're finished the books, we'll go see the ponies swim or something. Yeah. Make it magical. Bring in literature with the...
It is a magical place.
Yeah.
For sure. Alexis, do you have anything? And there's some, actually, look, I just cut you off. There's some really cool places around Chincoteague, like downtown Chincoteague Island, where there's all kinds of shops and restaurants. And then there's Wallops Island, which is a NASA base, and they have a museum. And there's all kinds of stuff. I would, if you're gonna, especially if you're from this area, Virginia Beach or Hampton Roads, if you're gonna make the trip up there, I would make a weekend of it at least. There's lots to see in that area when we get back to normal. For now, you're walking the trails. Forget that sometimes.
It's lucky that we are still allowed to walk all these trails, like every single place that you showed us today on the screen, Christina. They're all still open. Well, before you get in your car and go there, you really should call or look online and make sure they're open. But for now, the governor has said as long as you're exercising or fishing. So you're not allowed to lay a blanket down and bring a picnic basket and sit and have a picnic. You're not allowed to sit and enjoy that kind. It has to sort of count as exercise. So if you're walking, that's exercise, right? We all need to get our 10,000 steps on our pedometers. So as long as you're walking and you don't pack your picnic and sit. And I saw along in First Landing State Park, I saw some benches, and I thought, I wonder if we're allowed to sit down and rest on benches. I kind of think you're not supposed to. You're supposed to exercise. Keep on moving. Stay 6 feet away from people. But how nice that we still can go out, because I think there are some places that say all the city parks are closed. All the state parks are closed. The refuges are closed, and you're not allowed to go because some people abuse it for other people, right? So as long as we're following the leave no trace rules and we're not trashing and we're staying 6 feet away, if people all do this nicely, they won't close it for everybody, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Okay.
I think, that was our very, not too quick, but kind of quick tour of coastal Virginia. Thank you, stops. We keep shooting for a 20-minute talk, and it's not happening.
No, we're knocking on close to an hour on this one.
Christina, I don't know. I put in the chat over there how we have our virtual tours. Are people able to see that? Like
you sent that to me as a private chat, so what I can do is I can post that on the public chat a little bit later. But yes, I see it on my end. Yeah.
Okay, because I just want people to know, go and look at the virtual tours, because what we're doing every week, we're going with our video equipment. We're going on a walk on one of these places. So we're going to try to cover all of them. We didn't have Grand View on our list, but I think we should add it on there. But we have more than these on our list, but we'll probably every single week go and videotape it and then make a scavenger hunt. So they'll be able to do a virtual tour. And then also if they want to go, they can look at which one they want to go to. They can watch the 15-minute virtual tour and then say, oh, that one is where we should go, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's wonderful.
On our website. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for donating those certificates for the tour.
Yeah.
We'll be drawing a name once we close out here. So make sure if you're on here now that you've liked this broadcast and or commented or something, and hopefully, and Suzanne, and I think I can speak for all of us, for Rudee Tours, the Nature Bus, and Maniac Company, while we're all kind of at home, you can purchase gift certificates for the future. So little plug, help support small businesses now.
Like
if you don't win, you might win.
You can send it to somebody for their birthday ahead of time.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And then one last thing, Alexis and I have been brainstorming what we're going to talk about next week for the 50th anniversary of Earth Day.
Yay!
Yay!
That's a big one.
That is a big one. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on the Earth Day Network. It's going to be all virtual. We are going to be part of that, hopefully. We're going to probably talk about some history behind Earth Day and some of the things that came out of the first Earth Day and some of the things that happened because of Earth Day, and also some of the things that you can do to help our Earth and protect our planet, because, without our planet, we don't exist either. Super important stuff. I'm done.
Okay. Definitely appreciate everyone for tuning in. You guys were fantastic, engaging with us, asking us questions, giving us your comments, submitting those photos. We cannot thank you enough. Again, we'll put together that slideshow so that everyone has a chance to see the really awesome things and sites that a lot of these places have. I definitely appreciate you guys, and Suzanne, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us today and your generosity for those Nature Bus gift certificates.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. We definitely appreciate that. And how we do these randomly is we write down every person that has made a comment or liked and that we can see viewed it. And usually I'll tell Christina to pick a number from 1 to whatever. So it definitely is very random with how these are selected, and we will contact you via direct message. So make sure you keep a check on that.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and conclude the broadcast. Thank you again for tuning in. We will see you next week for a big celebration for Earth Day. Bye.
Yay. Thank you.
Bye.